All right, everybody, welcome back to what episode are we? Episode
Four.
4 of Manga for Dummies. We're here once again with 3 people because we're just too dumb to get 4.
Our organization skills are horrible.
uh,
Oh God.
yeah, so in any case, last week we looked at well, not episodes, we looked at chapters 26 to 44 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Since we had a little bit more time, we actually went a little further today, so we went from chapters 45 to 70. So I guess, um, actually, you know what? We haven't really done this before, but since it has been 2 weeks since we really spoke to each other, what have you guys been doing these last 2 weeks?
Well, Max has been sleeping a lot, apparently.
Just getting 10 hours every day. Can't.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's good.
Uh, you know me, man. Honestly, not much has changed since the quarantine, minus the fact that I can't go out and see friends and stuff. So I've just been home at my computer doing miscellaneous things.
Yep. I've actually picked up gardening, and I hate it. Anyway,
Ooh.
What don't you like about it?
I don't like going outside and being in the sun.
Yeah, I feel like that's a later in life type of enjoyment, you know? Like only like that's something for like mature people who
I
just
mean,
like,
I'm
you
growing
know,
4 little pot plants and they're getting pretty big, so that's nice.
trying to share. What the fuck, man? I have never heard
Well, I
of
mean, they're
this.
only so small, you can't really use them right now.
All right. Well, you better fucking hit me up when they're ready.
All right, and
All
that
right.
was that was gardening minute with the Manga for Dummy boys.
See you next week.
All right, so cool. So once again, we're gonna keep using our old, our well, I don't want to say new, but it's the second episode. So our new format of we just bring topics. So I guess the first topic is I want to run back. I keep saying that I feel that the world of Full Metal Alchemist has a ton of potential, and VJ keeps shooting me down.
I
So
wouldn't
what?
say I'm shooting you down.
Nah, dude, you push me to the ground, and then you take out a pistol, put it to my
Oh,
head,
wow,
and
okay.
threaten me to stop talking.
Yeah,
Because
like when
these
we did
people
the
deserve
song.
to know the truth that there's a bigger world out there. So,
Listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't think you're giving the world building enough credit. But it's okay. Keep continue.
so what I did is I did a little bit of research. I went through the anime and I found this map. So I sent it to you guys. And VJ, can you sort of describe the size difference? You know, I said that the world was like maybe 10%. And would you now agree with me?
I do agree with you. I wasn't saying I don't agree with you. One thing though, I thought Amestris was way bigger than it is. This blew my mind when I opened it. I actually didn't know it was this small. And I cannot believe that fucking Briggs has been able to hold off Drachma for all these years. Look at that shit. It's
Yeah,
gigantic. It covers the north and the west. So why aren't they fucking, teaming up with Greta or whatever that country's called? Krita?
I think it's
Greta?
Krita.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
What? Anyway,
I like
I
how
will.
this right side of the map has just a bunch of countries, but the names are so blurred out you can't
They're
read
so
anything.
unimportant. Yeah, it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I do agree that not a lot of the world is expanded on. And looking at it now, it seems like a waste because it would be cool to see maybe other stories, maybe like a story of Full Metal in the Full Metal Alchemist world, but like take place with different characters, maybe before all this father nonsense or after it. But like I was saying, and you chose to ignore me, I guess, they're only presenting elements in the world that are important to the story that's trying to be told. So like it's cool. It would be cool to learn more about Sing and shit, but at the same time, all the elements we know about Sing are elements that are important to the story. So knowing, whether or not the Emperor fucking found immortality or died or whatever, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's not something you really care about because it's that's all it is. It's world building.
Right.
It
But
doesn't service the plot in any way.
but this is also coming from a guy who hates One Piece, so folks take it
No.
with a grain of salt.
Well, no, and that's you fucking want to bring up One Piece? That's exactly what I'm saying. All those fucking islands, it's cool that we're visiting them, but after the fucking 700th island, I don't give a shit. because none of that shit services the plot anymore. Like, cool, there was that rebellion with Crocodile. That was fun. And then we visit fucking Candy Island or whatever with one of the Yonko, the emperors. What's her name? Big
Big
Mama.
Mom.
Fucking
Big
yeah,
Mama.
yeah. Like, okay, now there's a conflict with her, but like, how does this help us get to One Piece? It doesn't. It's just
Seems like you're
Luffy who
sort of
wants
up
to
to
go
date, huh?
fucking. No, shut up. It's what I'm saying is true. What I'm saying is fucking true. Like, what does any of this shit have to do with getting to One Piece? Like, she's not in Luffy's way yet. He just decided to land, and shenanigans ensued. And
No,
another thing I want to say about fucking One Piece that pisses me off is that
bro, what do you mean? They stole
I hate that they
Sanji.
break
You
up
had
the
to get him
parties.
back, and then they had
I
an
hate
internal war.
I hate
Anyway,
that they break up the party, like the whole crew. It's always split into groups of 2 or 3, and I fucking hate it.
So
Like, just
VJ,
keep them together. Anyway,
so
it takes long to
we've
discover an
actually
island for one group.
VJ, me and Max have actually been lying to you these last few episodes. We actually haven't been recording. This is actually just a therapy session for your anger issues.
it's an intervention to get
Yeah.
me to like
Yeah.
One Piece.
That's how you really feel.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I hope you're seeing my point when I say this shit. Well,
I
you know what? We'll
don't
talk about it
at
when we get to
all.
One Piece, when it finishes in 50 years. It's fine.
Yeah. Um,
Going back to the geography.
right. So one of the coolest elements I found about one of the nations on the map was obviously Zing. So Zing has been playing like a bigger part compared to like stuff like Drachma or uh Greta, well not Greta, Creta and Erugo. Like those countries like that were mentioned, but they don't really play a part in the overall story of Fullmetal Alchemist. Zing, thanks to the what's her face? What
May
May and the guys
and
called
Ling.
yeah
Ling.
and Ling.
Yeah.
Like they sort of add a little bit of importance to Zing. So one of the things I wanted to quickly talk about is the 50 clans fight for the Emperor's throne. So
Hmm.
the Emperor, as at least from what we gather, is like either unconscious or dying, and people are and he has like offsprings with 50 different clans. So all the clans are like
Jesus.
fighting for the throne. And that's really the pushing point that pushes Ling and Mei into a mistress. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so Vijay, have you ever? I think you've read Gamaran, right?
Yes, the sword fighting
Yes,
people.
yes, yes. And
Yes, yes.
that gave me a
Wow,
ton of
that's
that gave me a ton of vibes for that. So for Max, if you didn't, I'm pretty sure you didn't read it necessarily,
well.
but
Have you,
Gamaran was
Max?
I've never even heard of it.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
So Gamaran was just like it's more like samurais, but like it's similar where there's like a king that's dying, and then his 50 clan offsprings like each pick like a fighter to try and protect them, and the last one that survives becomes emperor.
Oh,
I was getting a
Yeah,
right.
ton
I've
of
I've read
vibes.
a Woodsy novel that's similar. Sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's very that gave me that kind of vibe, and I think that would have been a really cool like B plot to the overarching Full Metal Alchemist story.
I mean, yes, it would have been cool, but at the same time, I feel like it would have worked better if Gamaran had alchemy in it. Imagine that shit. That would be so cool. But the thing is that Full Metal Alchemist already has a subplot, and it's the
Okay.
Elrics getting their bodies back. Now the main plot has been revealed in these chapters that we read, and it's, the whole revelation that these homunculi have been here since the beginning, and they're trying to recreate what they did with Xerxes. So that plot has been pushed to the front, and obviously the Elrics have to take care of it, or they're gonna fucking die. But the B plot or the subplot has always been, we need to get our bodies back.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that was my first point, really. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, well, what do you think? Do you think that a third plot like this would have serviced the story at all?
Um, so at least in these chapters, the chapters that we read today, well, for today, we do see Ling becoming greed, and I would have
Yeah,
just laughed my ass off if you just directly went back to Zing and then like just like Wolverine style, just murder every other clan.
yeah.
That would be hilarious.
That would have been pretty funny. Max, what do you think?
I don't know. They just kind of like they made him disappear right now. So like they must have something big planned for him. Like I don't know. They just transformed him, and he's like he just shadowed the Elric brothers a bit, and then they just left him out for like 15 chapters. So I'm just like, okay.
Mm-hmm. That actually is a good segue into something I wanted to talk about, which was Ling's character as a whole. So going off of what you just said, like as opposed to Mei, who is the other, daughter of another clan,
Mhm.
and she's given way more screen time and a much more in-depth analysis in regards to her alchemy and how it works, her character and her personality. Ling, he's there, but he remains a mystery for the most part. Like, what do we know about him? We know he's 15. We know he's a prince, and we know he could fight with a sword. But like, we don't know why or how necessarily.
Well, they
Like with
explained
May,
that he was like he always had to protect himself as a kid
Yeah,
because
from assassinations.
yeah, assassinations.
yeah. I mean, okay, I can see that, but wouldn't that could also be seen as like a bit of a throwaway line to just summarize his character? Is like, oh, I had to learn how to fight because this.
Well, I mean, you can't spend too much time. There are already so many characters in the story. So
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you guys with all this. Like, so like you said, Max, after he becomes possessed by greed, he shows up sparingly to remind, us, the readers, that he's still there, but that's pretty much it. So my questions for you guys is, uh, do you think his presence in the story is necessary as of right now? Do you think he made Bradley less special by becoming the second, human homunculi hybrid, just like at the snap of a finger, basically? And do you think his arc or his character could have been handled better?
Okay, well,
I don't know.
obviously, I
Can
don't
I
think
say
any
this?
character is necessarily essential, but like, first because because Bradley's transformation into a homunculi was sort of like a flashback kind of thing. We get to see
Hmm.
like a real time, what happens. Like we can see that his personality change. Like for example, it's hard to tell if Bradley's personality changed after becoming a homunculi, because we really don't know much about him. We could
Hmm.
see that something about Ling changed upon receiving quote unquote father's powers.
Yes, because receiving those powers is essentially fighting with a 50 bunch souls.
Hmm.
So like whoever wins takes over the body per se. And so greed in this case. The only reason Ling was able to survive that is probably his will to want to become the emperor, to like gain immortality and everything.
Right, and he also feels like responsible. Like his two bodyguards came with him from so far, and like
Hmm.
some of I forget the girl's name, but like she sacrificed an arm for
Ranfan,
him.
yeah.
Lanfan or
Yeah, yeah,
Ranfan.
Ranfan.
Yeah.
yeah. Like the girl sacrificed her arm for him, so he feels responsible. Like we've already gone this far, we can't stop now. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think Bradley does make a good. He has a really good line after he goes to talk to Greed, who is now Ling, on a roof, and Greed tells him, this guy Ling is just sitting in the back waiting for me to slip up so he could take back over. And then Bradley says, "Wow, human greed truly is a terrifying thing," or something like that. I think that was a cool
Has no
line to.
depth.
Sorry?
Has no depth or something. It's
What do you,
boundless.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly, something like that. And I think that was a cool way to explain how Ling's ambitions are really, pushing him to remain in control and not lose himself. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing what they did, but at the same time, like Bradley was raised his whole life to be a vessel for a homunculi or a homunculus rather,
yeah.
and Ling just was given it. So that was more the angle of my question. Like
I mean, was raised. I mean, he was taught information, and he was physically trained, leadership skills, and sword fighting skills. Ling also learned sword fighting skills, and he's royalty, so he also learned plenty of knowledge and
Um.
leadership skills.
Well,
So like,
if we go a little more literal, like Bradley becomes pride, right? So he grew up trying to become like the perfect vessel. So you sort of have to
no,
get.
he becomes wrath.
Oh, right, he
Wrath,
becomes Wrath.
yeah,
Right, right, right. Sorry, I'm
yeah,
thinking the anime. So he
He
has
does pretty
yeah.
to.
much.
He's like he's quote unquote artificially like He's not necessarily. Is he artificially born?
No,
No,
no, no. He
no,
was he was
he's a
selected.
human kid.
Right, but
Yeah,
he was taught to be like emotionalist, like to be able to be like the perfect leader, and that's
Yeah,
like that has you obviously have to be have some sort of wrath behind you. While Ling grew up as one of the 50 candidates to become emperor, and like
hmm
he had to fight his other siblings, I guess, for the throne, so he has to be greedy to
they say
become.
siblings and everything, but like, are they even born from the emperor? Like the emperor just goes around getting women from all the different clans like that.
If
Yeah,
I
yes,
think
concubines.
yeah, from what I understand, I think like every clan has to send a woman.
Exactly.
Jesus,
Yeah, but
That
I mean,
dude
like,
gets it.
obviously
man's a good
Zing is sort
puss.
of
That dude gets
inspired.
mad puss, dude. This 127-year-old man just
Well,
boning
you
left
probably
and
get it when
right.
he's younger.
Hopefully. I
Dude,
really hope so.
with like 50 concubines, he gives each one like 6 days a year or something.
Jesus, man, that's crazy.
Switches up
Yeah,
every month.
I mean, I get it. I agree with what you guys are saying though. Like it's appropriate. I feel like it made sense in the story that, Ling was given greed, based on how all all the pieces fell into place and they found themselves in the situation they did. So, he was given greed and it matches his personality like Raph matches Bradley's personality. But I
So
would say that it does make Bradley a little less special seeing as how he's the only, human homunculus hybrid, and supposedly, he was the only person out of, 50 kids or whatever that were able to handle the transformation.
so you brought up Bradley, but do you think at this point is he more human or is he more homunculi?
Bradley himself,
Yeah.
well, based on his behavior, I'd say he 100% sides with the homunculus. Because, despite the literal fact that he's a human, he wasn't raised as one. So, he's pretty dissociated from humans themselves. He was born and bred to be a homunculus hybrid. So I think in his person, he is fully homunculus.
Also, he said so before. He takes pride in being homunculi, like humans take pride in being human.
Oh yeah, that's true. I do. Yeah, now you say it, I do remember that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of people who are more human or not, segue. I'd like to talk a little bit about Alphonse and his shift in this section of the story.
Well, I don't, so let's not talk about that. Just kidding.
All right.
All right, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks, everybody.
It was actually quite a brief thing, but it's something I just wanted to touch on. But Alphonse gets a lot of showtime in this arc here,
Yes.
uh, and there was a scene that really highlighted to me how his personality has changed throughout the story so far. Whereas before he was, nervous and uncertain, and he was a little shy. There was that scene where
Hi, friends. Yuwon here. You might notice there was a weird transition here, and the reason for that was that VJ spoiled a little something, and keep up with the spirit of the show, I mean, we decided, but I have to go ahead and edit it. You'll hear a weird sound effect. That's VJ's memory erasing gun. Thanks, guys. All right,
oh
yeah.
wow, damn, I
So,
was sure. You know what it is because I thought we were supposed to read to 76, and then you told me it was
Ah,
70, and I had made this talking point beforehand.
okay, okay.
you're
So,
All
goofy.
right. Well, forget what I was about to say. We'll save it for next week.
Let's talk about how Alphonse is actually the same. He still kidnaps little animals that are just on the street. First of all, he kidnapped the panda out of the blue.
He didn't kidnap it, it got stuck with him.
dude,
No,
when there was like
he
that
picked it
pyramid of
up.
power, that I actually
Yeah,
laughed.
because it was gonna die. Can we talk about how fucking adorable that panda is, by the way?
Dude, and he has like the pyramid of power, like the hierarchy of like who he has to respect, and then
Oh,
like all of a sudden Alphonse like heads to the top because he couldn't bite him and hurt him.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was actually
That was
Alric is down
amazing.
there with the little thin mustache dude.
yeah, yeah,
So you just you're gonna cut that shit out?
yeah.
That's
Anyway,
good.
it's okay. We'll get back.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
talk
you
about
want
it
you want
next.
to talk about this about Al changing his armor?
Right. So okay. So at a certain point, so obviously Al was a little beaten up after the fight with Gluttony.
Segue.
And then he meets face to face with Father, and Father just shows like incredible power, and he's able to sort of reconstruct Al's body. And Al
Mm-hmm.
specifically says like, oh, he was able to reconstruct it without thinning the metal.
Mm-hmm.
So that just got me thinking like, Al's an alchemist. Like, couldn't like we've seen a few times where Edward like changes the shape of his arm and stuff,
Yeah.
to suit the need of the scenario. Like, couldn't
Uh-huh.
Al just change his whole body? Like, he could make it bigger, smaller, different
Mm.
shapes.
But does that link into his blood link or whatever?
Or
Because Al doesn't let anyone else fix Alphonse because
Yeah.
of the blood link. So maybe changing the body would
But I
might
always
influence the blood link.
understood that part as Al just thinking that Edward knows how his armor looked like from the beginning, so he wouldn't like screw up the look.
Well, I think what Max just said definitely plays a role in it, but he said it, dude. You just said it in the line. He doesn't want to thin the metal. So if he'd have to build himself a new hand from the materials he had, which was his body, it would thin the metal as a whole. Like let's say he took the rest from his arm, then his arm would be structurally weaker than the rest of his body,
No,
you know?
I'm just saying like if let's say he was in perfect condition, like he was made
Yeah.
like right out of the package kind of condition,
Okay. Yeah.
couldn't he like transform his body or transmute? It's not, I guess transmute.
Yeah.
Transmute
Transmute.
his
Digivolve.
body, yeah, into a mega form. He like can't he like transmute his arm into like a sword and then just transmute back whenever he's
Um,
done?
I mean, he probably could, but I think, like Max said, I don't think he wants to risk messing up his symbol. Which
Mm,
I don't know the logistics of it, but at the same time, he doesn't feel pain. He's already twice the size Al is, and he usually just makes stuff out of the ground anyway.
Because we
So,
can confirm that the Jesus, what's his name? What's the older brother's name? I keep forgetting.
Ed,
Edward,
Alphonse. Ed has better alchemy control,
right?
so he can
also
make sure that
that.
he doesn't touches the metal around the symbol.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
we saw before that Alphonse isn't as good, and we don't know if he's at that level. So he probably just doesn't want to mess with his own body. Also, because first of all, he's comfortable with it, because he's really good with hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
true.
So I would, because he hasn't used any weapon yet, except for like a pole once here or there.
Yeah, he used a spear once, and it
Yeah.
immediately got cut into pieces by Lust. So.
So his experience with that is
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, he operates better as a hand-to-hand combatant. I agree with Max 100%. And it's just, I mean, let's be real here. Ed turning that part of his arm into a blade, that's straight up flavor. That has no practical use. Like a sword would be so much better in that
I
sense.
mean, it hasn't been useful for anything so far. Like,
Exactly.
has he done any real damage in this manga
No,
with
he
that
hasn't.
sword?
That's what I'm saying. Like pulling the blade out of his arm is self-defense, last resort type shit. Like other than, if he doesn't have to do that, he'll always opt to transmute the things around him,
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, okay, that does make sense. Yes.
right? Yeah. So there you go. There's the answer to your question. Well, okay. Let's while on the subject of characters, another subway, yeah,
Yeah.
another segue that won't be a spoiler. Can we talk about Scar a little bit in this section here?
Oh, Scar is so cool.
He is the coolest character in this goddamn series. I don't care who you are, you're wrong if you don't think
really?
that. Who
Um,
do you think is cooler than Scar?
I really
this,
like King Bradley, to be honest.
Damn,
well,
okay.
Bradley's like cold. He's not cool.
Ooh,
Anyway,
he's a
go
I
on.
would,
savage.
I would argue, the female Armstrong Colonel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty dope too. She's pretty dope. Cooler than Scar?
Ooh.
Come on.
Okay,
This
I
dude
think
got
Scar edges out just because he has a cooler tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. Just because he's a fucking hunk.
Jesus.
Dude, his backstory is pretty good. And
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like the philosophy he's exploring, it's not as obviously stated in the beginning, but he's falling into that it's how can I say this? It's more obviously stated now in this chunk of the series. He's fighting against this never-ending cycle of violence, right? People have brought it up before, but now it's
Yes.
at the forefront, especially with Winry coming into the play now, and later on Kimberly as well. I just think his arc as a whole is I don't want to say the most solid because like a lot of people have very solid arcs.
Yes.
I'd go as far to say as it's my favorite. What do you guys think?
Um, I can't really say it's my favorite, but I think I would definitely agree it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
Though it's actually it's hard to explain why it isn't my favorite because it hits all the right notes for me. For
Mm-hmm.
example, like when he meets Winry for the first time and he tells her like only you have the right to shoot me with that gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
minute you
Yeah.
pull the
Yeah.
trigger, I will try and kill you. That was like such a powerful line for me.
Dude, that was some D&D shit. Like this man. Oh, that was so good.
Mm.
Straight out of an anime, literally. So fucking good. I love that line, man. It's amazing. I also really like we got all the extra expo on his past life with the Ishbalan War and his brother's research. I really like how his brother's research was like a fusion of both alchemies from the
Yes.
East and West, and I like how nicely it was developed and how almost how the seeds were slowly sown into the narrative from the start, and now it's turning into what seems to be a larger plot point.
E
Uh,
yes, yes. That does make sense.
because yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. Like how he sends Marco to go fetch the notes and stuff. It's turning into like a major plot point, and I'm really curious to. Well, I know how it goes, but I hope readers are as curious to see where it goes as I was when I first read this because I think it's really cool.
Yeah, like for example, like once again, like we don't really know too much about Zing. All we know is that they use the special alchemy, and then like get a flashback to his brother greeting like these visitors from Zing, and like
Hmm.
he's unlike most of at least what's portrayed, the Ishbalans seem more not necessarily xenophobic, but more like closed off
Hmm.
to
They're very
foreigners.
conservative.
Yeah, exactly. But his brother was like this guy who was curious, like his curiosity overrode like his natural upbringing, and he
I
like
mean, he was a
welcomed these people.
researcher. That's
Yeah,
what he
exactly.
was.
Yeah, like the researchers in this series either go like the wrong way, like Show Tucker, or they go the right way, like this guy's brother.
Yeah, yeah. Alchemists are very much, good or bad, minus the Elrics who are dancing in a bit of a gray area because, they did something bad and they're trying to make up for it. But that's actually an interesting point because going back to this cycle of violence, I do think it's really cool here because there are multiple people at play here, and Scar is kind of like the middleman. You see, there's Scar in the middle, who's in the middle of of this cycle of violence, and he's starting to try his best to maybe break away from it. And Winry's on the good side of things, not killing him by shooting him with the gun, and so on, and
I
more
mean,
elements
she
later.
could shoot him.
Sorry,
She couldn't shoot him.
she
She
couldn't.
she didn't have that in her.
Oh, you mean
It was
as a
plain.
person?
Exactly, but that's just because she's a good person. Ed says it after, like he says like these aren't the hands of a killer, they're the hands of a healer or whatever. And even later on, she gets that phone call from her boss. What's his name? The beef dude from Rush Valley with the make. What's his name?
The thief.
Garfield or something,
The
whatever his name is.
fifth
Yeah, yeah, whatever his name is. And anyway, all her customers call him like, "We need you back here because
this
you're the
guy's
best."
bad.
Yeah, and she realizes it. But on the other hand, on the bad side, you have Kimberly who comes back in, who just seems to thrive in the violence, and he like tries to pull Scar towards the dark side and to continue this cycle of violence. And I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on it, specifically Max, actually, because I know Max doesn't tend to think this deeply about things.
Whoa, come on, man.
No,
Yo,
no, he knows
you
I'm right. He
you're
knows I'm
you're
right.
saying that and you're so right. Like after this whole scenario of Scar, when they called Winry to tell her to come back to work, I'm like, these guys are so needy. Like fuck off. She's dealing with shit.
Give her a minute. Come on, guys.
You see what I'm saying, dude, Max? Well, anyway, Matt, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this point. Like, what do you think about this?
Can you repeat your point? Sorry.
Well, what do you think about this cycle of violence and the fact that Scar has basically like a devil on one side and an angel on the other, trying to maybe pull him away or pull him back into the cycle? And
I
what do you?
mean, it's a cycle for a reason. He has a lot of hate, and there's no way to vent that. When it's against a whole country.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even when it's against a person, once you kill that person, you'll still have that with you. You
Mm-hmm.
can't bring back people that are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to go back to
So,
the cycle of life and violence, like we have to remember that Amestris soldiers went into Ishbalan, and which pretty much
Ishbal.
caused, Ishbal, yeah, it caused Scar in particular to get hurt, and then he's being healed by Amestris doctors, which is Winry's
Mm-hmm.
parents.
Mm-hmm.
So in one sense, Winry's parents' last legacy is Scar, because Scar
Damn.
ends up killing the parents. And if
Wow.
because he had
Winry
PTSD, though.
yeah, if Winry did actually shoot him and kill him, she would have just continued the cycle of life and death.
Exactly.
So in some sense, you could sort of say that Winry not shooting sort of broke away from the cycle.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying she's on the good side
I mean, there are
of
plenty
things.
of people still trying to kill him. I mean,
Right, but
one
like
person
I
left.
like Scar said, she's I wouldn't go as far as say she's the only one with the right to kill him, but she definitely has like
Not
the
at this point.
if there was like priority list, she would be high up there.
Yeah.
She'd be like
Also,
number
did they
one.
really heal him, or was it because he just lost an arm before, and his brother then transmuted it? Like, I don't think he was
I don't think
Well, the
so.
super
rock bells
injured.
healed the scar on his face, and I mean, I doubt it was a clean transmutation. Like they probably the scarring there was
Yeah, probably
probably
some
the rock bells.
stitching, some
Yeah,
scotch tape,
exactly.
maybe some crazy glue.
A little bit of WD-40 for good
A little
measure.
bit of spit.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
times are tough.
Oh my God.
Rub it
Well,
together and it makes the magic potion.
speaking of the Ishbal and War, Max, I think you had something to say about it, did you not?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Uh, so you know how they had this whole flashback and like they showed all the army coming in to like wreck their shit. All right. So for the Ishbal and War,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to bring a comparison with the 2003 anime. So in the flashback where they show all the alchemists using their moves to commit genocide. Well, in the anime, all of them got to use the stone, like Kimli did. Like everyone got their own piece, and like you saw how their moves evolved.
Yes, in the
Like
manga,
General
only
Braun,
Kimberly got a stone, right?
yeah,
Yes.
he's the
Okay,
only one
cool.
who got one. Everyone else was just like chilling.
Wait, in the old anime, everyone gets one?
Yeah, and everyone powers up like mad. Like General Braun literally like transformed himself into like 50 million cannons and like bombs the shit out of
Ooh, that's
everything.
actually
That's
real
so
cool.
that's so sick.
Like
What the
it
hell?
was a very cool scene to see. I was just sad that they didn't have that this time, but it makes sense since it keeps the stones more secret and everything.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, that would have been a really cool thing to have. You
Yeah.
know, if even they were just given imperfect ones for a one-time use type of thing, that would have been, oh, damn, I think I might have to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, like logically, I think the manga makes more sense, but like just from a
Yeah,
fanboy perspective, that that does sound
Yeah.
really cool.
For the flavor.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I actually had a little bit about the Ishbalan War. So we all know that we now all know that the homunculi are, especially Envy in particular, caused the
hmm
beginning of the Ishbalan War
Yeah,
and
he
No, I
did.
knew this
eventually
since chapter one. Don't worry about it.
Fucking bitch.
and the eventual genocide. Um, but at least from what's portrayed, like I think it doesn't really wash away the sins of humanity. Like most of there was the like if everybody was more like Armstrong had like this really powerful scene where he trapped with his wall powers, he trapped like
Showing everyone.
he trapped everyone, but then like because of the way Armstrong is, he's more soft-hearted, and more righteous, he breaks through like his own wall so that they can have a chance to escape. Like if more of the soldiers were like him, like I don't think the Ishbalan War would have went all the way to what it was. It
I
would have
mean,
just
you
been a
say
minor.
that, but he still
Do you
killed a
remember what
lot of
happened
people.
after he opened
Yeah,
that wall?
Kimberly. Is it Kimberly or is it
It's
Gimli,
Kimmy?
Kimberly. It's
Gimli.
Kimberly. It's Kimberly.
Kimberly. Yeah, like Kimberly
Yeah.
just blows them up. Yeah, I remember that part. Like if
Yeah,
there's like I feel like there were too many people that were like Kimberly and not enough people like Armstrong.
for sure. Well,
Well,
Max,
that
you go ahead because you had something to say.
yeah, one of the commanders that he saw that was like super irresponsible with even the soldiers' lives, who just
Yeah,
like keep rushing him, just attack him, no matter what. Even when like the spiritual leader surrendered.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you even saw the soldiers are just tired of his shit. First of all, because he's fucking unreasonable, bloodthirsty monster. So like
hmm
straight bullet.
That alchemist, by the way, I so want to know more about him because he seems
General
dope.
Brigadier Gran.
Yeah, he seems dope as fuck.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't think. Oh, was he one of
He
the
has
ones that
that
was
Whitebeard
murdered by
vibe.
Scar?
First of all, the
Is
whole
he
his
the?
whole drawing is the same as Whitebeard from One Piece.
That is so true. Holy shit. Is he the one that was murdered by Scar? I don't think
I
so.
mean, Scar, like from the beginning, he already murdered like half a dozen people.
Yeah, he did. He did murder him. They said that it's
Oh,
like
Oh, that
the start of the story.
sucks. Yo, his gauntlets were so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Fucking
were.
Armstrong should have taken them from. But I think you on what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and it's just basically like the homunculi started the fire, or Envy started the fire, and the humans just like threw
Spread it.
gas on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been avoided, but it's just they were being played on both sides,
I'm pretty sure
and
Envy made it worse. You know how they got guns from what's this place called?
Krita.
Erugo?
Oh yeah,
Erugo? The Envy probably also helped with that, like pose as a guard and then made the trade happen.
might have been. Do we have a confirmation of that, or are you speculating?
No, I'm speculating, because then Erugo
Um,
wouldn't even let them escape to their country.
it might have been the case, honestly. It might have been the case, but at the same time, if maybe they just wanted Ishbal as an ally for future wars or something, because Amestris, as we're told throughout this part of the series, became pretty aggressive in their territorial takeover.
Yeah, their expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
During the
hasn't worked
expansion, they
out
were
too
just
well
like
because they're still tiny.
they're still fucking tiny as shit. Well, to be fair, if I started out the size of Central, I don't think I'd try to fuck around and take over Drachma or something. That's like
Nah.
Italy going against the USSR or something. Like, they would have gotten destroyed.
Yeah, we know how Italians are. They always just change sides.
Hey,
Anyway.
man. Hey, we
Yeah.
pick we pick the winning side, bro.
No, you guys were offered a piece of tiramisu, and you're like, okay, we'll play for you now.
That's probably how it went. That is probably how it went.
That's it. They
Uh,
took out Mussolini and tiramisu, and then we got you.
Yeah, we
There you
had
go.
nothing. We had nothing left, dude. Uh, all right. Well,
Block the coffee, take their lives.
I'd like to. Jesus. So fucked up. Oh my God. Well, before we move on from this point, I do want to highlight one little thing. If you guys can, and you readers at home can as well, if you guys go to chapter 46, page 43,
Yes, class
uh,
turn to page
the,
46.
chapter 46, page 43. The composition of the panels caught my eye. I thought it was really interesting. See, in the top panel, Winry is pointing the gun at Scar, obviously, but it looks almost as though she's pointing the gun at the arm, which can be an allusion to the concept of never-ending violence, because this arm is the arm that killed her parents, and it shows how the cycle of hatreds will never end unless their literal arms. No pun intended, except it was, are put down in the name of peace. Uh, and
Right.
and I also at the bottom two panels, there's a zoom in on Scar's face, and it highlights the scar going through his eye, and 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 it's paralleled by the tear running down Winry's face in the panel right next to it. and it can. And I thought it was interesting because I almost saw it as like a scar of the past, a culmination of her trauma emerging as the source, emerging as the source of all of her trauma is standing right in front of her. And I just wanted to know because I mean I tend to look at the art because I'm a fucking artist, and this caught my eye. I thought it was a super cool thing, and I don't know if it was intentional, but talking to you guys now, I'm assuming you didn't pick up on it, but do you guys see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
what
and
do
then
you
there's
think
like
of
that
that?
last panel, which is like empty. You could sort of
Hmm.
say that it's like nothing, but you could also say that maybe the author was lazy. Um,
Yeah, I agree with PJ. But the thing with aiming at like a Scar's arm could also be like, first, she has bad
maybe
aim.
she, yeah,
Second,
maybe she
most
does
Yeah,
just
for
have
people,
bad
sure,
aim.
for sure.
second, most people who like pick up a gun for the first time think it's a lot more heavy than it is.
for
Yeah,
But
sure.
again, she's a mechanic, so she works with metal stuff. So I don't
Yeah,
think
she
that.
works with heavy tools. Yeah, no, I mean, art is speculation, right? It's just something that caught my eye, and I thought it was really cool. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it.
But I think the eye thing with the scar going through his
yeah.
face and the tear going down hers is very.
Yeah, right? I thought that was
Isn't
super dope.
it is interesting.
Ugh, all right. Okay, let's move away from Scar for a sec, because I could talk about him all day. I need to bring something up that came up during this little arc here, because after all this happens and Bradley attacks Ling and Lanfan, they go up to their little cottage or whatever. I think it's Dr. Knox's cottage or something,
Yeah,
Yes.
his house
and they get
actually.
into a fight. Sorry?
His house.
Yeah, whatever. No, no, not his house in the city. Like they go up to a cottage in the forest there, you know what I mean?
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they're confronted by Gluttony and Envy, and they have a little fight, and then Ling, Envy, and Gluttony are eaten by Gluttony. Now I need
Yes.
now we that's a whole conversation that has a lot of smart things we can talk about, but I have one question for you guys. What in the unholy fuck is that liquid and floor inside of Gluttony made up of?
I
Because
mean,
it
my
is
Blood.
first thought was
gross.
definitely blood.
It's blood. It's solid blood.
Yeah, it's definitely blood because at the end when they start fighting Envy, Edward just legit puts his hand into like the water and pulls out a sword saying that there's enough iron in here.
Yeah.
Does he?
Also, when he
Yes.
made that tunnel, he said it's all the congealed blood that's sort of a floor.
Oh damn, I missed that line.
Uh,
All right, well, thanks for the lesson, boys. My question's done on that on that
All right,
regard.
cool.
Did anybody else? Let's see if I have any dumb questions that I missed here. Let's see.
well,
Um,
talking about gluttony, like they say that like he's an incomplete door.
Yeah,
yes.
like all the homunculi.
Yeah. No, like he's like compared to the alchemy door that they have where they can store everything, like it's omnipotent and omniscient, like the door
Yeah.
of alchemy. He
Yes.
can store everything just like that can also store everything. And the
Yeah.
fact that Father created him
But it's
seems like he's
incomplete.
trying to become a yeah, he's trying to do his own system to become a god of his own little sort of world, I guess. Because
Yes.
because he gave alchemy to Amestris, basically. So
I'm
he's
so,
in
you lost me. Who are we talking about right now?
Father.
Father.
Father
Yeah.
created greed. Greed is a door.
No,
He's
no,
like the
gluttony.
incomplete door.
Gluttony, gluttony.
Gluttony, yeah.
Yeah.
He's an incomplete door, is
Uh-huh.
how they called it.
Yeah.
And so Father is trying to create. He's trying to become sort of God by creating a door. He's trying to copy the actual door.
Yeah. Well, that I think that's his whole objective. Not that we know for sure yet, but I'm pretty like anyway. The way I read it, I thought every homunculi had this within them.
No, I think gluttony was the only one that had that.
Yeah, he's the only
Really?
one with absorbing powers per se.
Yeah, or else Envy would have been able to get up by himself, I'm guessing.
I mean, yeah, but Envy doesn't have the alchemic knowledge that Ed does. You know?
Uh,
Like he just transforms or she. Envy's a boy, right?
I
I
think he's a
always
boy.
forget.
Envy is just a amalgamation of souls.
Yeah, well, we find out later what envy actually is, but I think he likes to take the form of like a really like teenage boy or something.
Yeah, it's
No, I'm pretty sure they said the
ambiguous.
tomboy, a female tomboy.
It's androgynous, I think is the word.
Yeah, it's like Mewtwo.
I'm sorry, did you watch the Pokemon movie? Mewtwo
Yeah,
is a dude.
no, well, in Detective Pikachu, he has like a boy and girl voice like mixed together. Like you can sort of hear a little bit
Wow,
of both.
well, I didn't know he showed up in Detective Pikachu because I hadn't watched that
Oh
movie, so
shit.
thanks for the spoilers.
Well, you started the spoiler train.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I did. It's all right.
Uh,
I deserve that. I deserve that.
I mean,
Okay,
going.
well, actually, I didn't know that gluttony was the only door of truth. I thought like all the homunculi had one inside them. I thought that's what made up part of the Philosopher's Stone because they were a complete Philosopher's Stone.
Mhm. No, I think that's it. One thing I wanted to talk about is the
Uh-huh.
presence of religion. Um, so
This again.
yeah, yeah. So in chapter one, we talked about the random sun god.
Yeah.
He doesn't really appear anymore, and then
Letoism?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because he got killed.
Well, I think it might have been like an actual religion. That's just like a branch of the religion. And then Ishbal had their own religion with like a spiritual leader. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they ever specify what religion that one's called. Um,
Uh,
Ishvara?
no,
No,
I
that's
don't.
their god.
Yeah, yeah, the god is Ishvara or Ishbala or whatever, but I mean,
in any
yeah, no, I
case,
don't think it's ever
that's not really
specified.
my main point. My main point is when May, I think it was May noticed that when Edward claps his hands
Uh-huh.
to alchemize something, it looks
Oh,
like
that's
prayer.
Ling. Ling
Oh yeah,
noticed that.
yeah. Maybe it was Ling that said it. Like she noted that it looks a lot like praying. So what do you guys like? And then there's like the door of truth, which has like biblical references. If we look closely into like the design. So what do you guys think about the religious undertones of the series so far?
Well, I mean, creation and destruction is very much like the domain of
Right, and like
God.
the forbidden stuff, the forbidden.
Yeah, I
Yeah, like
feel
transmuting souls, transmuting, trying to revive someone. Again, God's domain.
yeah,
Per religion, for all those non-believers.
Which is super weird if we contrast to the fact that, this manga is really technologically heavy too. Like, obviously
mm-hmm.
there's like automail, so there's like that steampunk sort of feel. And
Uh-huh.
when we look at usual steampunk stuff, it completely ignores the religious part. And I think that there's like a really neat blend of everything. So it's like
I
Yeah.
very
mean,
science heavy, but there's also a lot of religious undertones.
we sort of set the vibe before with like the like where we guessed like sort of the in the present time where it is like we said somewhere after World War II. Like
Right.
there's a lot of religious beliefs during that time because war is very difficult on people and they need something a higher power to believe in to get
Ooh,
through hard times.
that's an interesting take on it. It's true because I mean, Amestris is surrounded by war, so that
Yeah.
is a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, it's ever present without overstating its welcome, I guess you can say. Uh, I don't know, because I haven't really thought of how much of a role it plays, but I just saw it as more world building. But
Fuck you.
but
World building is
uh,
always welcomed.
but yeah, I think it's just used as a contrast, in the never-ending debate of, religion versus science. In this, it's very clearly stated that the science originates from God Himself. Truth being God, as you see in the beginning when that little, fucking silhouette figure says, I'm everything. I'm you, I'm me, I'm magic, I'm science, and I'm God. Um, yeah, it's actually that's a really deep question. I feel like if I were better prepared to answer it, I would, but as of right now, it's not something that really occurred to me. So I think it's something we could bring up in the next episode because that is pretty interesting, and I would like to talk about it.
Um, I guess my real last point was really we get to learn more about automail. So the guys up at
Buccaneer.
yeah, the guys up at Briggs, like because it's like a cold place, which we all understand what cold is, right? So
Nope.
Being from Canada, we're
yeah,
familiar.
Yeah, so
Can,
we can understand like mechanical stuff don't usually work out as well in the cold. So it's really neat
Hmm.
that the author thought of it. Like Edward was struggling to use his automail in the cold, and these guys weren't. And then it's revealed later that there's like a special like metal. There's like special ways to.
It was a different compound. Yeah,
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
I
mean, it
thought it
makes
was really
complete
cool.
sense. If his arm gets cold, at the connection of his limbs with his nerves will also freeze up and
Yeah,
definitely hurt.
he'll get like frostbite and something. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool touch as well. I will say it is cool. And does he get the upgrade before the end of chapter 70?
No, he waits. Oh yeah. I think he gets it at 70. So
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not really much of a spoiler because we know that Winry shows up.
yeah,
So
and
that's fine. Like,
yeah, she
because he
shows
gets
up
the
specifically to give him a paper.
exactly. But I don't want to talk about the upgrade itself unless it's not in this chunk of chapters that we read. So is it? I can't remember exactly.
I think I'll give you the go ahead. One.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I just want to say that while I do like it and it's really cool, like we were saying, the concept and the idea, the execution was cute, it was cool. I do feel like the design was a little wasted, you know? Like not much has changed. In the anime itself, I think it changes color a little bit, becomes like more bluish, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh,
But in terms of design itself, it doesn't change all that much.
okay. So I got this specific page. If you want to go there, it's chapter 70, page 8, 9. So I guess 9 would give you the look.
Okay.
So obviously it does look thinner. Um, at least from what I remember, it looks thinner. It looks a little more fragile. Like
Yes, she did say it was more fragile.
even Edward noticed that. Like, is it gonna be durable enough? Um, so there is like some difference. Like half the time it's covered by a coat, so like we don't get to look at it that much.
Hmm.
Um, I will note that the relationship between Edward, like the mechanic of an automail user, seems to be like sort of sacred because I'm pretty sure like he could have probably asked for the automail engineer of the Briggs army to do
Right, right.
something, but like he refused that. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's a cool little interaction we get, and I think it adds a lot to their relationship. You know, it's an organic development because now in this chunk of the chapters, we found out that Winry is in love with Ed, and there's that part where Ed tells her like not to cry until he makes her cry of joy or something. So there's like a mutual relationship going on, and at first it's like friends, and then it's mechanic and patient, and now it's a little something more, and it's cool. And just to go on what you said, I love how Buccaneer gets jealous that Ed has like a cute mechanic, and his is just like the fucking smoker dude with the bandana. I thought that was really funny.
Um,
Uh,
I mean, this was the last chapter that we had to read through, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my favorite panel, which is the reveal of Pride.
that was some heavy shit.
Oh,
That was
No,
such a good reveal.
I don't think anybody saw that shit coming.
I remember reading this the first time through, and I was so surprised by Pride. So, like, obviously, when I first read this I was like maybe 12-ish. Um, so I didn't even know like what the sins were. So I didn't even know there was like another one. So that probably helped. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Pride being revealed, like it was like a natural development too, where it's like some simple like question answering. She's like, "Oh, a nice kid you have there." It's like, "Oh yeah, is it yours?" Like, "No, it's from my husband's side," and that was just like such a good such a good
excuse
mic
me.
drop.
Right, right. And then Hawkeye was like, "Oh shit." And then Pride was even one step ahead of her, and she was like, "Welp,
I'm
now
dead.
you know." This wasn't one of my talking points, but it is something I'd like to ask you. When a team from Briggs goes to find those two that were left in the cave,
Oh yeah.
and they find them, and they're all fucked up, they're all traumatized. Pride comes back and decides not to kill that second team. Why didn't he?
Could care less. He didn't
Um,
think.
Like you see, he thinks about it and then he pulls back. But like, what importance did these characters serve? Like, what would it have mattered if he had killed them or not?
oh, I think it's due to the arrival of Hawkeye.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then
Okay.
he maybe like he had, well, I'm just guessing here, but maybe in that form he has to stay immobile while he moves his shadow and vice versa. So he's like,
Okay.
oh well, I better go greet Hawkeye, and then treated his shadows.
That makes sense. Okay, I could get that. That makes sense. Hawkeye's face when she makes the connection, she's just like, "Oh shit." Oh man. Well, I mean, now that we're on the topic of Briggs and Pride, and what I just talked about, Pride decided not to kill them in the tunnel. Speaking of that tunnel, we take a moment to talk about Sloth.
Sloth.
His character design is so confusing to me. And whereas the other homunculi aren't one-sided, they have a personality, they have a character. I mean, Sloth
Yes.
is just lazy, you know?
Well, he
I mean,
he's
his
he's
name.
working to stop working,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
super
I know,
funny.
but that's
It's
that's
like
his whole character.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
what do you see wrong with that? If for his namesake Sloth, he should be slothish.
yeah,
Yeah,
VJ, you did tell me that lust didn't need to be lusty, so I don't know why
but that's
why
the
you're
thing.
not okay with.
That's the thing. She's not always lusty. She has those multiple. But like this dude, for no reason whatsoever, is just like everybody was like, "All right, Sloth, you're the only one left. You got to dig this tunnel," and he just did.
Well,
His,
And
I think like father promised him like, oh, you get to go to sleep when you're done. Like, okay.
yeah, but he could have gone to sleep like right then and there, because father would have just been like, "I'll kill you if you don't." And he would have been like,
I
"Okay."
mean, VJ, you
If it,
see the reverence they have for father, except for Greed,
Yeah.
naturally.
yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, this is a nitpick through and through. I'm not denying
Yeah.
that.
If
But
the guy didn't do the work, father would just take him back into his body and then make another one.
yeah, it's just that his whole design and his attitude, and what he does in the story just is contradictory to me. And I don't want to call it lazy because obviously somebody needed to do it, but it's like you could have made someone else do this. I don't know.
Okay, so
Could
obviously, thanks to this chapter, I'm pretty sure we're introduced to every sin.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
which one is your favorite?
Not sloth. But before we either of us answer that question, I do have one more relating to sloth.
Okay.
How the fuck did Al and Ed kick Sloth off of that balcony during that fight?
They did kick him, huh?
How? How did they do it? He
It's
moved.
a,
He picked up a
used
tank.
middle leg, and Al, you just don't know what his strength is because he's hollow inside. So
He picked
if
up
it's a
a
weight
tank.
transfer of his body,
My guy, he
Okay,
picked up a tank.
because he hasn't rested in a while, so that when he was feeling like the gravity pushing him down, he just didn't feel like getting back up because he's that lazy.
yeah.
That sounds like an excuse
Also
here for
got
me.
knocked on the head, and then Al and Ed sort of rushed in, so they had momentum with their kicks.
I mean, they could have just made it so that that icicle falling on his head was enough of a distraction to reload the tank. But like, I don't know. I just thought it was goofy as shit. Like Al's 5'4" and he just drop kicked this 700-pound dude
And
full of like
to any
nothing
of
but
our
muscle.
any of our listeners who are 5'4", I like to say that I believe in you, unlike VJ.
I'm not roasting the fact that he's
The
5'4".
thing is
I'm
700
roasting the
pounds,
fact that it
more.
doesn't
Like,
make
this thing is
sense.
huge.
He weighs more than 700 pounds. Sloth fucking he picked up a tank. He soloed a fucking tank, and yet these two kids fucking kicked him in the tummy and he went flying. It makes no anyway.
Yo,
That's
Alchemy.
also that's also a nitpick. They did not use alchemy, Max. You shut up. Anyway.
Alright, so favorite sin is probably gluttony, just because he's a goofball and he's just fun. Like
I
after
thought
eating all of them, he just talks with Al and kind of chills and
he
leaves
like
him to
doesn't give a
father
shit.
super
Well,
naively.
I thought you were gonna say Bradley.
No, I liked one of the panels with Bradley a lot though, like when he's fighting Ling in Ranfan, and so and so Ling was trying to escape with her, and then he
Yeah.
throws that flashbang. Then
Oh,
Bradley's like, "Ah, eye
man,
patch,
it's
bitch."
actually a real disappointment that we went through these many chapters. Well, it's not really a disappointment, but it's just that it's like such a treat because all these chapters have so many cool elements. Like Ranfan cutting off her arm just to get
Yeah.
away from Bradley, like was like such a good show of her dedication
That was
to
metal as
Ling.
fuck.
Yeah.
Like that dog was so willing to carry that arm. First of all, so what the fuck?
I don't think the dog had a choice, Max.
It was just tied around him. He could have fucking like back scraped it or something. Like my dog wouldn't carry something like that on her back.
Maybe. But I mean, at the same time, it's like you said, there's a lot of shit that we do want to talk about, and we're going through 30 chapters at a time, so sometimes some minor stuff will get left out.
Right.
Uh,
As for my favorite sin, I think I would go with greed. Um, I think like
yeah.
not only does he fit his namesake, like if we consider what we're gonna end where he ends up with, I feel like he has like the most complete storyline.
Yeah, that's true.
So because he looks Asian. What?
I agree.
Fuck you.
Oh my God, Yuan. What the fuck? Honestly, yeah, it's either Bradley Gluttony or Greed for me.
Are you
Envy
serious?
would be
Choose
my
one.
well,
You can
Envy. Well,
decide
I'm
for
gonna go by
Italian.
process of elimination. I'm gonna choose one right now.
Okay.
Envy would be my favorite, but his real form is just gross,
Come on, BJ,
and
it's what's
his
on the
real and his
inside.
real no, that's the thing. His real form is gross, and his real form is even grosser. Because if that's his real, if why would he make that his pretend real form if he can just choose to not have all that disgusting shit?
Well,
Yeah.
BJ, like how am I supposed to say this without spoiling? So, um, wouldn't somebody who's one way, one ever like when you're so far in one extreme, you sometimes imagine how you would be if you were the other extreme. And if you have the power to transform yourself, wouldn't you want to be on the other extreme?
So would I willingly make myself a disgusting lizard monster?
Well, no, that's what you
Yeah.
already are. So you would have to.
Great. Cat's out of the bag,
I
guys.
see what you mean, Yuan.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Well, anyway, just that Bradley. I feel like Bradley's character, like he's a wrathful guy. Obviously, he's the sin of wrath.
Yes, I'm a wrathful guy. Yes.
You
Is
say
that a word?
wrathful. What's so wrath about him?
Bro, he literally destroyed a country, and when
These are all
his
plans
wrath
they
is
have
just that
made.
he's a
Like, it's not
savage.
that he.
Oh, dude, when he shoved his sword into Alphonse's body again because he felt
Yeah, just
somebody
for
in our
funsies.
presence.
Yeah, just to
Oh,
make
dude, that
sure.
was like my
Yeah.
heart
That was
actually
cool as
dropped. That
fuck.
was
But that wasn't even the savage part I was talking about. It was, I think we mentioned it before when the elder came up and he was like, just take my life and spare the life of my
oh
people.
yeah.
Bradley was just like,
Lol.
dude, you're one person. You're worth one person. Get the fuck out of my office. We're killing all of you. I was like,
Damn.
damn, Wrath.
Damn.
Yeah, you know what? I give it to Bradley. Bradley's my favorite. He's a savage. He's cool as fuck. I like him.
Okay. Uh,
Someone.
Although this does make me want to talk about something because Bradley, we did talk about this before when Bradley attacked Ling and Lanfan and then she cut off her arm and shit. He did not have to attack them, did he? Like to me, it just felt like he blew his cover for no reason,
um,
right?
maybe because they're illegal immigrants. I don't know.
I
So
know
he
they
ran up
saw
a
him
fucking
with.
phone pole to
I
kill
mean,
them.
BJ, they saw him with Gluttony giving Gluttony orders. I mean, if that wasn't a dead giveaway, I don't know. Like
Yeah,
the fact that first of all, they only like confirmed because he had his eye patch removed and they saw the Ouroboros tattoo, and but like no one discussed the fact that he gave orders to Gluttony.
you're right. Okay, I could see
I
that.
thought
Well,
that was,
I
that
feel
would
like
be
if they had
smart.
made that a point to say that, like he had the tattoo and he was seen with, we saw him with gluttony, that could have just closed my speculation right there. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's a translation, so maybe they did, and we just missed that. So that makes sense. All right, is that everything we had to talk about?
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I got a better explanation of what the Zing version of alchemy is. Um,
True,
when
true. That is something I wanted to tell you.
May sort of simplifies it down for Marco.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped explain a lot of my concerns that I had and some of the questions I had towards, what's the real difference. Um, and the fact that it also gives credence to why Edward and Alphonse weren't able to use alchemy in the presence of Father, but May and Scar could.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that it's good that she went back and probably realized that her explanation so far was pretty bad. That she gave us a more satisfying one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually did want to bring that up because you did make a point. You talked about that last episode or the episode before, how uh the Sing alchemy wasn't developed enough, which that's more world building you want.
Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I'm glad you got your answers,
Okay,
and
well, I
it just
guess
goes to it.
my last topic was Hohenheim's relationship with family. So
What relationship?
no, like we see like there's like chapter 68, which is almost at least
Exclusively
yeah,
about him.
like
His
half of it is dedicated to Hohenheim's.
Dude, we didn't talk about Hohenheim at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so we're saving that for next week. That and the religion, we're saving that for next week.
yeah, yeah. Just that I think it's so funny that they took a family portrait and there's just Hohenheim holding Edward while
Crying.
crying.
That was pretty funny. Uh, I will say, just to get this out of the way and something to be developed next episode, I really like how Hohenheim is hinted at to be a homunculus.
Yup, it happened again.
We'll cut that part out. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out. All right, let's all take a pause. You want to give us the outro?
All right, and that was everything that we well, not everything, because I think we want to revisit some of the stuff in
We
this.
will next episode for
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot of neat stuff that I think will some of it will get answered, some of it will be expanded on, some of it will just be ignored. But it's pretty neat. So
What are we
originally,
reading up until?
yeah. So the thing is, there's in total 105 chapters. So we would have been in a
Okay.
real awkward spot if we were to stop at, let's say, 100 and then have 5 chapters left. So I want to do a vote right now. Do you guys want to do like 20 chapters here and then 15 chapters for like the finale, or do you guys want to
No,
just
let's finish it.
finish it?
You think? I would
Yeah.
say let's do the 2020 because there's a lot to unpack
It's
in
more like
these last
20,
chapters.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down with that
Oh, okay, then go for that.
All right.
because there's more to unpack and stuff, you know?
All right, that sounds good. So, I guess we'll just do a round number. So, we'll go from chapter 71 to 90.
Okay.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, all right. So, thank you everybody for listening. This has been episode
4.
4. Yes, I was right about to say that. Manga for Dummies on
Yeah.
Fullmetal Alchemist. My name's Yuan, and thanks for listening.
I'm VJ and fuck you, Jag.
Oh, right. Yeah, fuck you, Jag.
Max out.
All right,
All right,
guys.
thanks everybody.